Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of How Did We Get Here? I'm your host, Jay Carter, and the man that is always heard and never seen, Skeens. Again, he's grinding, hustling. He's at work right now. So, again, better than your average is the channel and the movement. How did we get here is the show. We got two cousins that are like brothers talking any and everything in the process. How did we get here? As always and as usual, we want to send everyone love, peace, and blessings. And, you know, as we continue to navigate the age of the Rona, we want to send our prayers to you and your family, man, as we navigate on this journey together. But we still want to keep hitting y'all with this dope, awesome content. And as we're continuing the series, as I was thinking about it today, just dope people that I know in real life. I had to have this guy on. We've known each other for many years. I'm going to bring up a story that he probably doesn't remember. It might have some revisionist history in it as well, but I was thinking about this. But my brother from another mother, TJ Void. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So, guys, again, as I'm always trying to highlight, men, people, but, for me as a man, I like to highlight men that I admire and that I, look up to from afar. And, T, while he's younger than me, I've always watched his journey, and his mission. And I say that to say, guys, we don't have to get caught up in these, a lot of times as men where we're trying to jockey for position or who's better and things of that nature. Yeah. I looked up to this dude for so long. He's a husband. He's a father. He's an educator. He's an administrator of educators. He's an author. He's a coach. Did I miss anything?
I mean, you make me sound more impressive than I am.
So
I just do a lot of things, man.
And this dude still has an awesome hairline with waves.
Now that's the truth. That's the truth.
So, man, just welcome, brother. I was thinking, T, as I was reflecting, way back, we played in the Prayers and Players League of church, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Now, before I was on the league for maybe a year or two before we went to Germany, and your pops was the coach of y'all's team when we were super young and you still had the high box. I think y'all had like green jerseys. I don't remember what team y'all were, though. We were the Lions of Judah, I remember. And then I can't remember what team that y'all were.
We were the chosen ones.
So, guys, this is where my revisionist history may come in. We had a game. There was that school in Cove where we didn't play the game at the church. This was before the church gym was there. We used to play at a school in Cove. They had a little, right? Mm-hmm. And we were locked in a hard fought battle. And I remember it was a few times they put me on team. Even though I was smaller than him, I was feisty on defense.
Yeah.
And sure. So I remember Chris Evans was our guard as well. And I think he was on you late in the game. We was down in the clutch, and they had took me out, sub Chris, and I think he fouled you, and you won the game on some free throw, something like that, man. But I was thinking about that. I had thought about that in years, man. But
man, those are some battles, man. Those are battles back in the day.
Yeah, man. And I mean, guys, this dude, he went on to have a great career as far as basketball and, playing in, for high school and college as well. So, man, I want to just get started and take it back to the beginning. We've known each other since going back to, again, elementary days and things of that nature, or, from by way of church. But let's talk about your upbringing some. And I really wanted to talk some about, your dad is a great man. Solid dude that I always saw coming up. And I want to talk about what was your relationship and the model that you had from him growing up, as a young man.
So my dad and I have an interesting relationship, and we'll get to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a father now, obviously, and I take fatherhood really, really seriously. You know
Indeed.
what I mean? I'm not saying that I do it right all the time, but it's something that I take great pride in. And I mean, he belongs to me,
Right.
and for me, being a deadbeat is not even an option. Like, I can't even be friends with guys who don't handle their business with their kids. It's just something I don't believe in.
Absolutely.
Um, but for me, man, we grew up pretty normal. We originated from South Carolina.
Right.
We moved from, it was my sister who's only 16 months older than me.
Right. So me and
And,
Ebony, y'all, TJ is
hmm
a year behind. Well, it actually falls like 2 years behind us.
yeah, close to 2 years. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
and
young.
Ebony and
Yeah,
I were in the same grade. We graduated the
yeah.
same year. So anyway,
So, yeah, so I graduated high school 2 weeks after I turned 18.
okay.
So, yeah, I was right on that edge there. But so we moved as early as I can remember. We lived in Germany, and then we moved back to South Carolina, then to Texas, then back to Germany.
I
And
didn't know you
so,
spent time in Germany too, man.
yeah, man, so I was there when I was probably like 2 or 3,
Okay.
and then we went back when I was, I think, between 5 and 7.
Okay.
And then once I turned, we moved. My mom and I, and my sister. My dad was still in Germany at the time.
Yeah.
Moved back. Now, sometime in there, my sister and I lived in South Carolina as well.
Okay.
Back in the day, you send your kids to the grandparents for
Yep.
summer.
Yep.
Which is crazy because we used to drive 22 hours to get dropped off for 3 months, and your parents just turned around and drive right back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
how desperate were our parents to get rid of us?
Bruh, they
Like,
tried to do that to me, but I was the only child, and I would just refuse to stay. So,
what happened to that, by the way? Like, boys don't get dropped off at their grandparents for
nah,
months
dog.
no more.
Yeah,
But
man.
anyway, so we spent some time, man, with both families because both my mom and my dad families from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
They're essentially from the exact same city.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So my mom and my dad started dating when they were kids.
Yeah.
I like young kids. And so our
Yeah.
families intertwine, and it's one of those type deals. And so we moved back to Texas, and I remember going to Chris House of Prayers New Year's service in 1990. So the year was turning into 1990,
Wow. Okay.
right?
Yep.
And that's when, and we never moved.
Okay.
We lived in Fort Hood. We stayed in Killeen for a second.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed with a family friend in Nolanville, which I hated
Right.
every second of it. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And then
Yeah.
we moved to Copper's Cove when I was in the second semester of second grade.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I went from second grade all the way through in Cove.
Right. Okay.
And so in between that time, though, man, like, you know how the church is. You get positioned in church just essentially from longevity. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yep.
You there long enough, you move up in the social status of the church.
Right.
So, my dad was a counselor, my mom was a counselor and a greeter.
Yep.
But then they hit a rough patch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which to the public was new. But
Okay. Yeah.
you know how it goes.
Absolutely.
Being a black family, your business is your business.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really talk about family business in public. And I'm sorry, I'm a real live father. So
Absolutely,
my
baby.
son,
It's live and direct, baby.
you may hear my son. I see, son. His birthday's tomorrow. I see, son. I'm looking right at you. It's great. It is a dinosaur. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So the in between that time, man, my parents split.
Mhm.
You know,
About
they
how
had
many
some
years in were they, TJ?
I'll be honest with you, bro. It was rocky. Probably starting at about 8 years old. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
I was really in tune with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
I felt her energy at a young age, and
Yeah.
so if she was up, I was up. I felt like I had to protect her. Now, again, my father's a good man. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you do not to jump too far ahead, man, but a part of maturation. There's different stages in the maturation of your life, and once you become an adult, it's kind of like a different process.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of that maturation process is when you realize that your parents are just people
Yep.
that just happen to be your parents.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Man. Yeah.
And like your dad is just a dude,
Yep.
and he just and so he thinks how you think.
Yes.
He makes mistakes that you make, and honestly, and I'm a mama's boy, self-professed. I love my mom to death, but you can look at it sometimes and say, okay, I can see why dad said you was bugging from
Right,
time to
right.
time.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? You be
Yep,
tripping.
yep.
And vice versa, right? But anyway, it was on and off. In a church, there's pressure to stay together. There's pressure to stay married.
Hmm.
There's pressure to just pray about it and let God handle it when, in practicality, there's just a level of endurance that humans just don't have.
Hmm.
And so my parents probably split for good, which wasn't known to the public when I was about almost 13.
Okay,
And then the divorce was final right around 15, so like right
okay.
after ninth grade.
Yep.
But they split when I was in seventh grade.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And during that time, man, we had, this will probably be surprising to people that grew up with me, but we moved, shoot, from the time we was in Texas, we moved every year other than my last 2 years in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There was times there was no lights, no water. There
Wow.
was times you had to figure out food. And so like right after my mom and my dad split for good,
Hmm.
it was a rough patch. You went from two income to one.
Yeah, man.
You went from having young kids to two teenagers.
Yeah.
And then my mom lost her job
Wow.
um, with the DPS, and so she was working at Mark and West with some people I went to school
With
with.
teenagers, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there would
Yeah.
be times, honestly, there would be times, man, where we would be with friends and we would go scooper from
Right, right,
work.
right.
And
Yeah,
just by the luck of the draw, bro, she braided somebody's hair that needed to be braided,
yeah.
and it just kind of she became the braid lady. You
Okay.
know, during that time, we were evicted from one house. We actually moved next door.
Whoa,
Yeah,
bro! I would have been none, and the reason why a part of it, T, that you got to think of. When I left, I knew your family as it was leaving here in '92 or '93.
yeah.
So when I came back I came back in '98, and ironically,
Hmm.
my godmother and they went to the church and are covenant pastors, etc. But they lived in Nolanville, so I was in
Hmm.
while we were getting our house built in Morse Valley. We stayed with them my second half of 10th grade year. I went to Killeen,
That's right. That's right. I remember that.
which
I remember
was
when y'all came back.
a huge eye opener coming to Killeen,
Different world, bro. It's a
bruh.
different world. It's crazy because it's two small towns,
Man,
7 minutes apart, but they're different worlds.
bro, I was watching Cat. I linked back up with a homie that I knew from when I was in elementary school in Killeen. He still was in Killeen all those years later,
Hmm.
and he was involved in. He was a folk,
Hmm.
and I latched onto him because I just was looking. My world was kind of upset. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
One of my homies from Germany that was like my brother was there, but he didn't like come in like get me. He would see me in
Right.
the hallway, throw me a deuce, and that was his
That's it.
interaction. I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
that's it.
we were just brothers a year ago. So
Yeah.
I linked up with my homie, and I remember I saw so much of the culture that was different for those kids that grew up in Killeen, and I'm watching cats get violated and beat up in the hallways and just
Yeah, bro.
I was like, yo, this is crazy. And I come from in Germany, there was a little bit of that, but there was a level of camaraderie that we had because we're over in this foreign place together, and it kind of caused us to have like this different kind of bond. So
Yeah. No, that's true. When we were in Germany, like you probably, we went to an American school that was kind of mixed in.
yep, exactly.
And that experience actually will tie into my education journey later as
Yep.
well as this. So all this turmoil going on in my life, man,
Hmm.
it kind of created a defense mechanism
Uh-huh.
where
Yeah.
I just kind of I just handle my business.
Right.
I didn't really think about it. I didn't really like it didn't even really dawn on me how crazy I grew up until I met my wife, and we talking, and she like, I'm like, you ain't ever cut no washcloth out of a towel, and she looking at me like, bro, no.
What are you talking about?
Like, why would I?
Why would I ruin a perfectly good towel?
You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I do that? That doesn't even make sense. Or wash. There was times we had to wash clothes by hand, bro. Like,
Yeah,
you
man.
wash clothes by hand, and you dry them in the bathroom with the space heater.
Hmm.
Hopefully they dry overnight. Towel. I
Hmm.
mean, your socks are crispy. But the
Right.
one thing that I always had, the saving grace that I had, man, that kind of kept me sane is basketball.
There you go. And I want let's go into that, man, because I looked at you as the guys that was ill. When I was in Killeen, there was a dude, I cannot remember that guy's name. He was like a year or two older than us. He was a point guard at Killeen. I cannot remember. He was.
So that was Howard.
Thank you, Howard. Howard.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Howard Smith.
It was Howard. They had another dude that I believe was like a 2 guard that could jump out the gym. Cedric
Brooks.
Come on, baby. So then when I got to Cove, Kevin Mitchell.
Yeah.
Kevin Mitchell, I was like, it was
one of the best players I've ever played with.
So you had Kevin Mitchell, you, and then of course our other brother, Travis Boyce.
Travis, yeah.
And I was never a great basketball player as far as, I wasn't tall, y'all, but I was a decent around the way player. And I remember playing with Julius and Travis and Ivan and those guys in the neighborhood. And I had done decent for myself playing over there at Julius's house one day. And so we went around to where Travis and Jarrell stayed. No, another one, Jarrell. And Travis was coming, and he had the ball in his right hand. And I consider myself a solid defender. And he did, and Travis was kind of stout, thick dude. So I'm like, okay, he can't be that fast.
Super quick, though. Super quick.
And TJ, he did something, and I was still standing, and he was at the rim.
I'm going to tell you what he did. He did it behind the back. That's what he always did. And you knew it was coming, but there wasn't nothing you could do about it.
But that was my introduction, man. So let's talk about, like I said, my introduction to knowing you came through basketball. You know what I'm saying? And when you're saying that thing has carried you, what fueled that passion for basketball?
So I started playing basketball just on a whim, bro. Like when I was growing up in Germany and South Carolina, I would play with my cousin.
Yeah.
But we never played any sort of. You gotta think the town in South Carolina where we from, their school is still K through 12, like right now.
Oh wow, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And my mom's mom lived here. You cross the path. My great grandma Clemmy, God rest her soul, lives right there.
Yeah.
And you walk 25 paces, and my aunt lives right there.
Right.
And that's where we spent the majority of our time. You know what I'm saying? But we came from Germany, man, and it was the Prayers and Players League had gone from like a team to a league. Shout out to Jay McKinley, man.
Yep.
It was
shout out to another one, man. See,
he
used to have Bible study at his house
and hooping.
And he had that goal in the backyard.
That's right. That lean forward, but it didn't matter.
And he would come out there from the porch sometime, and his jumper was always wet.
Draining jumpers with the knee brace on and some jean shorts too.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, man.
But so he put the team together. He put the league together, man, and we played in the 6 through 8, right?
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, like, I'm on a business venture now. My boy Devin hooked me up with a guy who's kind of helping with it, and Devin was on that team. You understand? He's 6, I'm 7.
Right.
Jarrell, who I still talk to every Saturday. I talk to Jarrell and his father every Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Jarrell was 5.
Wow.
All right. This is 30 years ago.
Wow.
Okay.
Yep.
And another guy, Andrew Baker, who's a coach out here at Fort Bend.
Yeah.
He was on that team, man. And I remember the first game we played, dog. This is back before we knew anything about, muscle development.
Right.
So what you did was when you hooped. You had the same size ball.
Yep.
You played on the same size court.
Yep.
You played on the same size goal. So we went to overtime 0-0, bro. First game ever.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody just chunking it.
Yeah.
But in that game, I don't remember, like, there's bits, you know how it is. The older you get, there's bits that are vivid, and then there's parts you don't just remember at all.
Yep.
But I remember that very first game almost like it was yesterday. And I remember that we won that game 2-0. I made the game-winning shot from like a dotted line, and it just started to come naturally after that.
Okay.
And that's just something. But I was never. I think what the thing about basketball that I like so much was that I could work at it and I can almost control my destiny.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like when things in your life you have no control over, this is something that I could really get into. We didn't have cable a lot, and then And all right, so all this is tying together. It may not seem like it, but I'm gonna tie it together for you.
Gotcha.
So,
Yep.
growing up in Christian House of Prayer, you can have a little, you can trend towards devout, right, in
Yep.
terms of Christianity.
Yep.
And so, we were joking about this just the other day. It wasn't no worldly music, bro.
Nah, dog.
You know what I'm
Nah.
saying? I'm talking about to the point that when you did have cable and you was watching BET, you had to turn the channel, but
Yep.
then you had to turn it again so that the previous channel didn't pop back. You know what I'm saying? so,
Yes, sir.
so you know what I'm saying? So every, BET was 35.
Yep. You
All
come on,
right,
man.
weather channel was 36.
Come on,
Cartoon
man.
Network was 37. You
Right.
see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I'm watching 37, and my mom looked back like, why are you watching the Weather Channel? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But I had just flipped from B. So what happened was, and this is actually went into my basketball game too,
Yeah.
is I would memorize songs.
Okay.
Like I would write down songs, lyric for lyric, bro, and
Wow.
memorize them so that I could sing them with my friends, right?
Ah, wow. Yeah.
And so what that did with basketball, it made me like a savant. Like I would do that with Michael Jordan games. I would
Okay.
draw out a court,
Mm-hmm.
okay, on my little paper,
Mm-hmm.
chart his shots.
Really?
And that's how I became good with numbers too. Just, division, that, and living in Germany. In Germany, in other countries other than America, they have no qualms of separating, the elite.
Right.
So
Yep.
if you test well, you're not going to be in the class with the rest of these people. Come on over here. It's gonna be
Right.
3 or 4 of y'all in this class, and we're gonna get busy. And
Right.
that's what happened. Like I was in advanced classes over there. So when I come to Texas, and they writing on this weird looking paper that has like 4 lines with dots in the middle. I'm like, why y'all writing on this paper? This is ridiculous. It's
Right.
because they're learning, uppercase, lowercase.
Yep.
I had been writing in cursive already.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Again, so fast forward that to basketball, what it did was it gave me a capacity to pick things up fast.
I understand. Got you.
And so that was like my saving grace. That was my safe haven because I knew that everything on this court I can control if I can control it. And so I would learn at an early age like tendencies. And
Ah, yeah.
so,
Mm-hmm.
fast forward from 8 to 10, by the time I'm 10, I'm, one of the best in the area, but I had
Yep.
never played on anything other than church league. And so this is my
Right.
first year in city league,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm playing on an all white team. And I got like 28 points the first game. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because they had never seen
Yeah.
anything like that. But see, again, the both sides, right? What
Yep.
was going on at the house, and as I was growing up, I never dealt with it, and so
Ah, okay.
I was just emotionally unstable,
Mm.
right? So if you know anything about TJ Boyd, you know that he would cry.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
boys gonna shed them tears out here. Okay,
Yep.
and it was as you get older and you realize what it was. It's because I put so much pressure to be good at this thing because I could control it.
Ah,
You know what I'm saying? And I felt like if I did this well, this will make life better.
yep.
Not to mention, my father was my initial coach.
Yep. He
You know what I'm
was.
saying? And we had a great relationship.
Yeah.
We really did. Like I'm talking about like father son days and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was our link. And so the dysfunction that was within the crib, that was the thing that wasn't dysfunctional.
Got it. Yeah.
And so now, you know what I'm saying? Now, it makes sense now to say it at 37
Mm-hmm.
of why I would cry after every loss or that I wasn't doing well because I put this immense amount of pressure on myself.
Right.
But that's why. But
Right.
that was at the same time, that was the thing that I knew it. And I know that I could know it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. I would just spend all my time playing basketball. I would go be at Travis' house, and he lived way across the road.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe it or not, man, I didn't grow up with a basketball goal.
Wow. Okay.
I learned how to shoot. I had a ball, and I would do like 200 reps of just shooting it straight up.
Straight up. Yes, sir.
Again, this is my ability to pick things up, right? And
Yep.
so when I would watch how Jordan shot, and I would jump and try to touch the roof before I would flick my wrist to release,
Yes.
and that's how I learned how to shoot.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's
So,
crazy, man. And you know what? I was thinking too, because you guys at that time when we were in like that part of high school, y'all stayed a little ways down, kind of from
Mhm.
us.
Mhm.
More kind of like I think I may have came over your house once or twice, kind of, but y'all stayed on that side. It was more like by across where Blockbuster used to be, if I remember correctly.
So yeah, so we grew up initially. So Cove is split. You know, young boys like to talk about north, south, west. I have
Right, of
no idea what
course.
side of Cove I grew up on. None. You know what I'm saying? All
Yeah.
I know is we started off over there, like you said, across from Blockbuster,
Okay.
ninth grade. 10th grade, we moved next door. Then when I
Okay.
was in 11th grade, we moved out past the city park.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
So,
I wanted to talk about this too, man, because we have, it's just crazy how stuff aligns, and we have so much commonality, man. And we talked briefly via text message when we were in high school, talking about being in high school, and we talked about Coach Jackson,
mhm.
and I wanted to talk about that on here because, guys, so Coach Jackson, white guy, soccer coach. And when I came, again, coming from spending half of that year in Killeen, we moved back to Cove. We get our house built there. And I had this English teacher that was a coach. And many of y'all know, in high school, there's kind of something that goes with having the coach as the teacher, where you like, oh,
Oh yeah, we chilling.
we're
We
going to be in
chilling.
here chilling. Okay? So it was me, Justine, Amanda, Joy, and some other people that I can't think of right now. But why this is still one of my favorite books to this day, we had to read A Farewell to Arms. And Coach Jackson, I'm like, this dude's soccer coach. He don't really want to be teaching this English class, right?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
And so he would have us. He was the first person as far as literature is concerned. And I came up performing arts, some of y'all know, stuff like that. So I had an appreciation for the arts. But as far as actually interpreting literature, Coach Jackson was the one that lit the fire under me to be able to look at words and find and dig and find all the other stuff that comes with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he would give us, at the time, he would be like, okay, y'all need to come back. And I can't remember the number, but he'd be like, you need to have like 30 pages read by tomorrow. I'm like, what? And I want you to give me a breakdown on what you read. And I'm accustomed to TJ just giving the passages that cause okay,
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm decent with words, so I could fluff this up.
Yeah.
And man, he just lit a fire under me to understand literature. And so in 12th grade, I took AP English, and we used to call this lady, y'all, the Dragon Lady. She was a great educator, Miss Stalder.
Ah, yeah.
And so while I did learn what I learned from Coach Jackson, when I went to Miss Stalder's class, it was me, Arca Price, some other folks in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I would read a passage, and because Miss Stalder would give us, okay, within the class, you got to write 300 words on this. I'm like, what? So I'm saying, so the events that were evident in the passages below were circumvented by the illiterate. And I never forget it, man. In red, she would write on my paper, "Arr." And one of my favorite phrases to this day, glittering generality. Oh my God. I'll never forget that. Glittering generality. And so we had read, she let us pick a book one time to write on. Book I read as a kid, Huckleberry Finn. Mm-hmm. I know Huckleberry Finn backwards and forwards. So boom, write on it. She kicked it back, made me redo the paper. So I went and saw Coach Jackson. I went to 12th grade, y'all, but I went back and I'm like, Coach Jackson, I need your help. He said, come and see me in the locker room. I got to coach the kids today, but come and see me and I'm going to give you what you need. And he broke down for me in Huckleberry Finn what the waterway represented. It was the life's blood of the community.
Yeah, that's him, for sure.
It represented a way of Huck being able to escape his abusive father, and it provided commerce and this. And I was like, what?
How do you know this stuff, right? That's how you think about it. Like, how do you know this stuff?
So I took what he gave me, put it in my words, and after that, I mean, I did pretty decent in her class, man. But what was your experience with him, man?
So actually, it was very, very similar. So again, coming over, I was a GT kid,
Okay. Yep.
right? Coming from Germany. But when I got to Texas, they never tested me for it.
Okay.
Even though back in the day, toss tests,
Yep.
right? It
Yep.
got to the point that I actually had an offer to skip the sixth grade
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because I did well on the toss test,
Got you.
but I never did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I got to high school, because I took algebra in eighth grade, remember back then you had to take a test to be accepted into algebra, and
You
then
did.
you had to get signed off from your teacher
Mm-hmm.
to get into your pre-AP classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in pre-AP geometry, and then I'm looking around like I don't want to be in here with these people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they taking this stuff way too serious, bro. And because
Absolutely.
like my even to this day, my intelligence is common sense. Like
My
and
brother.
I teach that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And here's a crazy prison nod to Coach Jackson. I taught English
Word. I didn't know
at the
that.
beginning of my career. I taught English, and we
Mm-hmm.
taught it like common sense. Like I'm like, look, do I care if y'all memorize Romeo and Juliet? No,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that you need to learn, you need to learn.
Right.
And here's why you need to learn them. And so we would turn it into a soap opera, man. And we just,
Wow.
by the time we halfway through, we got girls like, I'm Juliet. I'm reading this. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I skip every class but come to my class because
Yeah.
they want to make, because they kids, right? But anyway, Coach Jackson, I don't remember my English 2 teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Coach Jackson because it was quite a few. Before I even get there, man, you shouted out some women that we need. I mean, you said some names like Arthur,
Yes, sir.
who was like the super successful realtor
Yes, sir.
in Killeen. Shout to her.
Yes, sir.
Joy, who just started a candle company that we
Yes,
actually
sir.
have the candle burning in my house right now.
Yes, sir.
So shouts to them, man.
Yep.
You know,
Indeed.
that's you got to give
Indeed.
those
Loved our
ladies their
sisters,
flowers
man.
for sure.
Most definitely.
But Coach Jackson, man, I got in his class and I wasn't bad in school, but I was a knucklehead because I knew what I could get away with,
Got you.
right? So, in my mind, okay, if I got an A in your class, I can talk.
Yeah.
Well,
Right. Yeah.
you can't tell me to comply. I got an A in here. This is what you want me to do. You want me to get an A. This is what I'm gonna do,
Yeah.
right? But Coach Jackson, man, first of all, I took a liking to him because he saw I was, I've always had a little bit of size on me. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just a skinny kid, and so he took that
Mm-hmm.
and said, "Man, you really need to lift weights to, I think that'll take you to the next level." We back in the day, they thought you lift too much,
Right. Right. With your
it's
shot.
gonna
Yep.
mess your jumper up.
Yep.
But see, being a young guy, again, I was 15 when I played varsity with Kevin Mitchell and them,
Mm-hmm.
and that class happened to have about 16 seniors in it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm super young. So
Mm-hmm.
they lifting weights. I'm hanging with them. They lifting weights to get ready for college, whatever. And so I got in with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Coach Jackson, once they all left,
Mm-hmm.
and Coach Jackson would take me after school, dog, and lift weights with
Wow.
me. Because
Wow.
again, we struggled at the house, so I walked home a lot, but I lived far.
Yeah.
So we didn't ride the bus. I never got a bus pass.
Mm-hmm.
But I would walk home, but I didn't really want nobody to know I was walking home.
Wow. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so I would stay after school, and he saw me one day and just pulled me into the weight room. So we would lift weights 3 or 4 days a week after school. So we already had that relationship.
Okay.
And so we in a classroom, man. We in a classroom. It's just one of them ducked off classrooms that used to be the tardy room
Yep.
with no windows. And the one assignment I remember, man. First of all, we was reading like quote the Raven or something. The Raven, I don't know, but I'm like, I don't want to read this. Edgar Allan Poe ain't my cup of tea. Still ain't.
Yep. Yep.
But then he was trying to teach us symbolism, right?
Yeah. Boom.
And so he says, here's what I need you to do. He put on YouTube. I still remember this. I'm still trying to find what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And he turned the lights off, and it's the drums, and I'm in here really getting into it. It's my first introduction to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm just a Negro, man. I don't know nothing about no
You
YouTube.
too. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Not at that age for sure. We didn't
Nah,
know.
nah, not at all. But so I'm like, man, I need y'all to go home, find a song, and I need y'all to break this down and tell me what the instrumentation means. Tell me but we could only use like a minute though.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, dang. I look around, we ain't got no CDs again, no worldly music. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yeah. Come on,
And
man.
if you know anything about gospel music back in the 90s and early 2000s, I'm talking about y'all think the baby come on the track right away.
Come on,
I'm
man.
talking about they on that thing off the rip.
Yes,
You
sir.
know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
So I didn't have anything to go off of, man. And at that time, it was just, my mom. And my mom was a little more lenient with the music. As long as we
Uh-huh.
had it in our room, she didn't want to hear it.
Right.
And so what I had, man, I had a Fuji's tape,
Okay.
right? And one of the first, it was hard to record off a tape, man. I had the Memorex,
Come on. Talk about
on
it.
one side with the red
Talk about it.
record button, with the pause.
Come on, man.
But I was able to listen to the beginning of that song, the beginning of Ready or Not, man, when it just
Wow.
had the
Okay.
little flutes, and I was able to turn that into an assignment that I would never forget. And
Wow.
I've lost contact with him, but what it did was it really just enhanced my appreciation
Mm-hmm.
for things of that nature. Because now I'm coming home looking at movies like, oh, somebody about to die. It's raining. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? The,
Yeah.
the the
Yeah.
clouds is getting dark. You can
Yeah.
see the look on it. That's how it was,
Yeah,
right?
man.
Because and again, that all comes together to like now that again that's what those things like that, those idiosyncrasies is what gets me going. And that's what kept me in basketball as well. Because like even now when I watch basketball, I don't ever even watch the ball. I kind of watch everything else that's going on, and that
Oh, okay.
came but that comes from the literature
Mm-hmm.
background from Coach Jackson, as
Mm-hmm.
well as the way I thought anyway.
Right.
Like
Right.
in
Right.
my mind, this is the way school should be going, and that's believe it or not, man, that's the kind of teacher I became,
Wow.
and that's the kind of writer I became.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And just talking about, to go back to what you were talking about, is the common sense part of life. A lot of people consider me, a decently intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
well thought out guy, but it's really commonsensical kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That I find myself pretty decent at. And it's funny that you say that some of those people in those AP classes were taking it so serious. TJ, it's the same way as I went up the ladder, so to speak, in acting. I had a
Mm-hmm.
natural knack for talking and conveying myself.
Right, right.
So they can say, I would memorize my lines. Shout out to my boy Steve Matthews. We did our thing together. I mean, that was my guy, big
Mm-hmm.
bro. And, me and him could get up, do what we got to do, and just go back to clowning. We had other cats not knocking it, but they're in there, how now, brown cow, and stretching. And, and we just kind of look at, we try to be some cool, like you said, me and him are in class quoting Eddie Murphy and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
so when you became a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I was like, TJ's a teacher. I always thought it was gonna be coach, something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
CEO. That's what I thought for you. You know what I'm saying? So
We getting there. We getting there.
you know what I'm saying? So I know for sure. But what was how did was that something that you always had in your mind that you wanted to do since high school, college, or how
Not
did
a
that come?
chance.
Okay.
I didn't want to teach at all. I didn't want to teach while I was teaching at first.
Okay.
So what happened was, man, so when I got to college, my college career was garbage.
Okay.
Right? I played it. I went to Temple on a
Uh-huh.
whim. I turned down some other offers because in high school I had a solid sophomore year.
Okay.
I had not a good junior year. I got hurt early and I didn't play well, and our team wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
My senior year, I played well, but I could have played better.
Okay.
And our team, we lost some games here and there, but I played well enough to garner attention. Some, right?
Wait, real quick, on
Uh,
on your senior team, who was the 5 on that team?
John Young.
Jay Young. Okay.
And John Young was 6'3", man, and I give him all the credit in the world because he fought every game,
Yeah. Shout out to
right? And
John Young,
we
man.
were like one of the original 5 outs for real because we
Yeah.
had to be.
Yep.
Travis was on that
Of
team, and
course.
Travis is amazing. He was an amazing basketball player, man, and that's my guy. But John Young was good too. We had a little
Yeah.
young Booker, so we were young. We had a good mix
Okay.
of young and old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we couldn't get over the hump, and looking back, it had to do with the stars. So that's what high school is.
Okay. Of
You know what I'm
course.
saying? We should have got us more wins.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Okay.
But you don't see that at the time. But I had this belief that if I don't play basketball, what am I going to do?
Okay.
Now, if I have my druthers now and I can go back, I would probably just go to University of North Carolina, try to walk on. If I don't make it, just go to school and be good with it.
Yep.
But I took a long journey. I went to Temple.
Mm-hmm.
I started off redshirt, and then I played.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bench warmer for the first time in my life, and I handled it like trash. You
Okay.
understand? Like I didn't
Understood.
handle it. I didn't handle it well.
Mm-hmm.
And so when my time came to be ready, I wasn't ready
Okay.
because I was so busy, which is a life lesson, right? I was so busy worrying about why I wasn't playing
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't ready to play when it was time to play.
Ah, okay.
And so, because what got me there, man, I mean, again, there is a level of maturity that you have to accept to overachieve. Because when you overachieve, that means that you are in a place that you probably
You
don't
shouldn't be.
really deserve to be.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
your skill set says you shouldn't be here,
Yep.
but you're here now.
Yep.
So you might as well just concentrate on being here.
Yep.
But I didn't. And
Yep.
so what made me a good player as a youth was just my tenacity.
Okay.
Like I wasn't an amazing basketball player. I just hated to lose.
Okay.
Like I didn't everybody likes winning. I sincerely hated losing. You know,
I always thought you were you were for at such a young age you had such a passion for the game, man.
man, I
Dude,
hated losing.
you know
I
what I'm
hated
saying?
losing. Like
Yeah.
I would go from basketball games. We would play basketball games on Saturdays if you remember.
Hmm.
As a young kid, I would go from basketball games and go home and play basketball.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I lost my focus, man, and I can never regain it, Jay.
Mm.
I could never regain my footing because I mean, once you get up there, you got dogs. It's a different
Absolutely.
world. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? But here's the crazy part: I still overachieved. I laughed at some D2 offers that I got early. Like
Wow.
I remember the coach at Tarleton State wanted me to come to take a look just because I was at a camp that I drove my 2000 I drove my 1997 Mazda
Mm.
626, bro,
Okay. Okay.
with the CD, feel
Okay.
me, with the CD, with the tape adapter,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yes, sir.
From
Talk about it.
I drove that bad boy from Temple to Tulsa, Oklahoma with nothing but MapQuest and a dream
What you say? And y'all
by myself.
to take y'all back, MapQuest was just the
Now, it wasn't no GPS,
on the
cuz. It wasn't no
paper. You
GPS.
understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Turn and
Yeah.
exit.
It's
You
on
gotta
the
look at the
paper.
paper. Come on, you print it out.
You gotta read. You gotta just know. Okay, I'm supposed to be going north and east. So whatever sign says north and east, I'm gonna just ride that out and see what happens.
Yes, sir.
Dog. See, again, this is a defense mechanism
Hmm.
that I built when I was younger to just do stuff and not think about it.
Ah,
Like you
okay.
don't think that at 19, I'm 19 and I'm doing this by myself.
Yeah.
Nobody told me to do it. I saved my $400 from my first year in JUCO.
Okay.
I paid my own money. I went up there with no teammates. I played with a team from Southern Utah,
Whoa.
and I was went up there, and they know each other, so they shooting the ball every time, and I'm like, okay, so I said when I get it, I gotta let this thing
Yes,
fly.
sir. Yes, sir.
But here's the thing, though, my mom was already messed up, Jay, from that first year.
I got you. Okay.
But when I got there, I played okay, but I broke my nose.
Oh, word.
Yeah, I broke my nose,
Mm-hmm.
but then I came back and played the next game.
Okay.
And the coach, because I in my mind, I couldn't not do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the flexibility to not play.
Mm-hmm.
And so the coach was ready to sign me just because of that.
Man.
And I'm
Okay.
like, nah, yeah, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go back. I went back. I sat out a year.
Mm-hmm.
I played the next year, man, and I got hurt right before the JUCO Jamboree, which was a big tournament,
Mm-hmm.
preseason tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy before me was playing. His name is Tyrone too. Shout out my boy Tyrone Basie.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrone was a hooper. He was better than me. Like
Okay.
I'm gonna just keep it all the way with you. He was
Okay.
better than me. He was
Mm-hmm.
a hooper from Bryan, Texas. If you know about Bryan, they got dogs out there.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
and I'm like, I gotta get back. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
I can't just. I gotta get back, man. And so I played okay. But long story short, man, A&M Corpus came to a few games.
Mm-hmm.
Abilene Christian still liked me. I
Mm-hmm.
stopped returning their calls, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden I needed to call them,
Okay.
and they wasn't calling me back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I ended up going to A&M. I had an opportunity to go to St. Edwards on a scholarship, and the crazy part is the coach at St. Edwards, got film of the game that the coaches from A&M Corpus Christi was at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I ended up going, as a recruited walk on. And man, again, my mom was messed up. I went there. I was staying with my boy Junior. Like
Yes,
God was
sir.
aligning,
Yes, sir.
God was aligning everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
To just have it. Junior just happened to have his roommate moving out on the same week that I had to move in.
Now
You
you
know what
talking
I'm
about
saying?
June
Junior
Payne?
Payne, Junebug Payne. It's
June?
like
Okay.
that's my brother.
Shout out to
Okay.
June.
Yeah, the whole Payne family,
Yes,
man.
sir.
So
Indeed.
I went there. I stayed with him, man. I was on the team. I was playing well. But my ego was so fragile, bro. My
Yeah.
ego was so fragile at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I was struggling with the relationship with my father. My mom, my sister were struggling here at the house. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really have no guidance. I was just doing any old thing, you know. And I had a meeting with one of the because my reps started getting cut in
Mm-hmm.
practice. Mind you, this is how stupid it was, right? We had about 20 guys on the team that they were kind of weeding out because you need guys to practice. People don't know this, but when you go to Division 1, there's a bunch of dudes.
Right.
Yeah, I guess it's only like 12 that play,
That's
but
it.
it's just dudes, right? Because
Yep.
you need dudes to practice, you need whatever.
Yep.
I went through the whole preseason, dog. I got my practice jersey. I took my picture for the media guide.
Whoa.
None of those guys had did that, right? Maybe
Mm.
only like two of them.
Yeah.
I took my picture for the media guide. I have my jersey number. I have my game shoes. Dog, we 2 weeks from playing Florida State.
Okay.
I go talk to the assistant coach. I'm like, what's up with my reps, man? Like, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I was switching positions, and no guys, those guys were better than me. They
Okay.
had the Division 1 experience that I didn't have, so it was a learning curve for me.
Yep.
Um, and I went there, man, and he said, he shut the door. The assistant coach was like, I really don't even know. I can't really tell you anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
They had a recruit coming in from another junior college. He was 6'9" on the wing. Shout out my guy Cedric, who,
Mm-hmm.
if you got a 6'9" wing and a 6-foot wing, you play the 6'9"
You
wing.
played a 6'9" one. Indeed.
You know?
Yep.
And then they had a recruit that had transferred from Texas Tech, who's actually a youth pastor now back at home in Lubbock, Josh Washington.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at him like, man, this guy's a scrub.
Right.
Okay, he wasn't though.
He wasn't.
No,
Yeah.
he wasn't.
Again,
But
the
in my
ego.
head,
The ego.
my ego again, worrying about what he was doing instead of what he's not doing instead of what I am doing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I went in there, man, and then here's the crazy part, Jay. The head coach called me in his office. I played well on Midnight Madness because we had a Midnight Madness, right, which is the first day you can practice.
Yep.
We had because he was like, Tyrone, who's Tyrone? Not knowing that that's my real name,
Yeah,
right? They
yeah,
knew me
yeah,
as
yeah,
TJ.
yeah. Yep.
And so I got offended. This
Okay.
is the stupid competitor in me.
Okay.
So I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. When we get in this jamboree, I'm going to shoot it every time. I'm not even going to look to pass.
Right.
And I did. So I had about 8 points, and we played about 10 minutes rounds or whatever. And so I'm like, all right, you got to know me now. But then my reps were getting cut. Why? Because we were getting closer to the season. So your guys that you're going to play, that your returners, they need to get reps.
Yep.
But this is my ego now thinking, not me, not my rationale.
Yep.
So the head coach takes time out of his day, bro, calls me into his office, says, hey, man, I like you.
Mm-hmm.
You work hard. This Coach Ronnie Arrow. You work hard. Maybe we'll play you. Maybe we won't. You never know what could happen. It's a long season. But next year, we got the guy coming in that came in from Tyler. We got the guy from Texas Tech that we like. So, you work hard. You could be the team Rudy.
Man.
Think about my history, Jay.
Yes,
Think
sir.
about my history in basketball. You've known me this entire time.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, I ain't nobody's Rudy.
Rudy. No.
I walked
Me?
out of. No, I ain't. Let me tell you something. I ain't even give myself an opportunity to rationalize.
Right.
I walked out of that meeting and walked directly down to the locker room and wrote on the board, guys, I love you, but I ain't doing this, and turned my stuff in. And when I turned my stuff in, the coach looked at me like, what are you? And I walked out, and when I walked out of there, I wanted to turn around so bad and say, "Go, no, I'm just joking, man. I
had to set chain, man. I was playing, man.
I'm just trying to see where y'all was with it.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, man.
It was the Martin episode. He was like, "That's it, leave."
Yeah.
That's me. But I couldn't, right? At that point, I couldn't.
Of course not.
So I was just a quitter, man. And then it went downhill a little bit from there from Corpus, and smoke weed and all kind of silly stuff that ain't even me.
Yeah.
Then I went to a small school in Abilene, dog, and it just wasn't working out. I played well. I played terrible initially.
Okay.
And then I played a little. I started getting better, but then I started battling rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh, okay.
I had no idea. I'm 22.
Right.
I wake up one day and my right wrist, I just can't move it. And then I wake up the next day and my left wrist, I just can't move it. I can't put my shirt on. I can't pour no water, and I'm just
Man.
in the house like, what is going on? And then if you know anything about rheumatoid, it's it makes you immuno uh, compromised.
Mm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
caught strep throat,
Mm-hmm.
and strep throat takes the RA and it makes it really, really, really aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But being young and being black, right? Black men have an issue going to the doctor, and
Yes,
that's
sir.
a socioeconomic thing too, though. But I'm not gonna get into all of that with you yet.
Yep.
But I thought I was cool, man, and then I caught strep throat again, and it lasted so long that I had to end up getting steroid shots in my neck. I'm
Mm.
going to see doctor after doctor. I'm having to sit out games. I come home. I'm just sleeping all day because they put me on Vicodin, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not doing anything because it's internal, right? But they
Yep.
don't know because I'm 22. I don't
Mm-hmm.
fit the profile,
Right.
and I'm an athlete.
Yep.
So one doctor said, "Well, we may have to fuse your wrist." I said, "I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
Um, so I ended up missing my trip back to school, and we had a game against Henderson State, and no coach called me, no nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the end of my career here, bro.
Just like that.
Right, just like that.
Wow.
That was it. And so I'm lost now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because as an athlete, you identify with yourself with what you do, unless there's somebody there to tell you that this is what you do, this is not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been TJ the basketball guy.
Right.
So I lost myself in that identity, man. So I didn't know what I was gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, I'll be a personal trainer.
Okay.
But I couldn't do that in good faith because of my health. I couldn't lift anything. I couldn't do anything. So I came back home, man. I'm gonna move back to Cove.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Jarrell, and Carrie. Shout out to Carrie. Just had
Shout
a
out to
son,
Kerry. Yes, sir.
young Cooper.
Yep.
He just we lived together, and then it just so happened I was
Y'all
coaching
stayed
with
together?
Travis. Yeah, we did. We lived in a house, bro. You
What
don't even
year
want to
was
know
that?
what you don't even want to know what was going on up in there.
Well,
2006
so
and 7.
oh six. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. I remember when you came back, but I mean, we was kind of running and
I hate it. I
yeah, yeah,
hated
yeah.
coming back.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
felt because you were working on Fort Hood at the time
No, no.
with
At
Mr. Marvin.
that time, oh six. I thought you came back. I'm messing up my year. No, no. Oh six. I still was probably actually at Convergence.
Okay,
Then I went to
so
work in Round Rock. Then I came to Fort Hood after that. But yeah.
okay,
Hmm.
okay. I went there, and then I told Jarrell and Karis, I'm not staying here longer than a year, bro. I don't
Yeah.
care what I got to do.
Yeah.
And I was interning for the Austin Toros,
Word.
right?
Okay. I didn't know
I
that.
don't even know, dog. I don't even know how I got that internship because I don't even remember. I just know that I ended up interning for them,
Okay.
and I gotta again. This is God aligning me from doing stuff that I can't do, right?
That's
Because
it.
I couldn't run and set game ops like I should have, and
Hmm.
somehow my love for music made me start playing music one day when the lady was like, "Hey, somebody put some music on while we set this up."
Hmm.
Next thing I know, I'm the game DJ the whole time.
What did you just say?
I'm dead serious, bro. I sat at the table the whole game and played the music, the defense. All right, so this is gonna sound crazy. People probably don't believe me, but if you ask my girl Jolene Slama, who was sitting beside me, my
Yeah.
lady Miss Perry, who was there, I learned how to. They taught me how to cut the music, and so I cut the a song, that song that starts off "Everybody clap your hands."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I cut that into a clip, put it into the soundboard in 2006, and now the Spurs use it.
You get.
Swear to God. So, all right, so fast forward, I'm
Yeah.
doing all that.
Yep.
I'm driving back and forth, and I'm coaching with Travis.
Okay. Yep.
We go to a tournament in Austin. Nobody's there to take the score. I'm
Hmm.
taking the score. The guy beside me, son, is playing on the team. He's taking the clock.
Okay.
I'm talking. He's like, "Man, you really know the game, huh?"
Hmm.
Yep, I do. Can you train my son in Westlake? They got their own goal in the backyard, full court. Okay, Westlake, suburb of Austin, super rich.
Hmm.
I go there. I've never trained a kid before, but I played basketball my whole life. I train him. He brings two of his friends. One of his friends' dad is a doctor. He sees that I'm not ever catching the ball. I'm just batting it down.
Uh-huh.
But I have a high tolerance for pain, and my brain won't let me say that I'm hurting.
Okay.
Right.
Hmm.
So he's like, "Man, what's going on?" I said, I have some, inflammation. I can't really." He's like, that sounds like rheumatoid. Have you heard of rheumatologist? I said, "Sir, I'm thinking in my brain, how do I know what rheumatology is?
Right.
Like, I
Right.
don't." I'm just a dude. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
for real.
So he's like, here, call this number. Call the lady. The lady happened to be, she studied under Dr. Stephanie, studied under the guy in Chicago that wrote the book on rheumatology. It was that new of a disease at the time.
Boy.
Yeah. This is crazy, right? So then, but what happened was she didn't have any, this was August, she didn't have any appointments until January of the next year because it's a
Mm-hmm.
specialty doctor,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I didn't have any insurance
Ah,
because I'm an intern.
indeed.
I told Jarrell and them I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I packed up my one suitcase,
Yes, sir.
my fat back 27-inch TV,
Okay, the big
and
back baby.
that's right. And I went and I just so happened to meet somebody that knew about this temporary agency. They got me a temporary job at Apple.
Uh-huh.
I moved into a sick apartment in Austin that ain't got no gate, no fence, $635 a month.
Woo, in Austin?
You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So I'm
Okay.
there. I ain't got no bed.
Mm,
I ain't got no couch.
okay.
I'm eating off paper plates.
Yes, sir.
Only thing I had was the box set of season 1 and 2 of Martin
Come on.
and the Boondocks
Come on. Let's talk about it.
on DVD, right? And I still got
Yeah.
my DVD player from college.
Yes, sir.
Man, within 4 months, somebody blessed me with a couch.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bed,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm chilling. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? I had a dining room set,
Yep.
and so again, fast forward to now I'm living in Austin where the doctor is.
Mm-hmm.
They call me, hey, we don't. We had a person drop. Would you like to come in?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I got that job. Here's what happened. That
Mm-hmm.
job moved fast tracked me to be an employee instead of a temp employee. So I just got an insurance.
Man.
So I went and saw that lady, and she was like, "I don't even know how you walked in here.
Mm.
Your numbers, your inflammation numbers,
Mm-hmm.
say you should be crawling.
Whoa.
You should be in a wheelchair
Tolerance for pain.
because." Yeah, I wouldn't, my mind wouldn't let me succumb to it.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm getting to the point how we got to my career,
Of
right?
course.
Sorry
Yes,
to be
sir.
long winded.
No, you good.
But she was like, so what happens is you take this blood test. There's no real test for rheumatoid arthritis. You take a
Okay.
blood test, and there's this, I forgot what it's called, man, but it's supposed to be half of your age. It tests your inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was 23, so
Mm-hmm.
it should have been 11 and a half.
Right.
The inflammation in my body was 100.
God, dog.
Okay. So every single joint, like things that you wouldn't even think were joints, but are joints, like a jaw, both knuckles, knees, both sides, ankles, toes, okay, everything, elbows, swollen. So she was like, we can put you on pain pills, or we just had this new, trial of this thing called Remicade.
Mm.
What's Remicade? Well, it's an IV treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Let's do
Mm-hmm.
it.
Let's do it.
Because
Yeah.
you won't have me addicted to pills and I'm still hurting anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Started taking my Remicade, man. It started off every 2 weeks. I had to go get a 3-hour IV treatment.
Okay.
Um, and it went well, man. And I got off of it. And she was like, I've never seen anybody recover like this. Granted, RA at the time was more, old white women.
Well,
But
you
I'm
just
a young
said
black male.
he just said y'all he had the rheumatoid arthritis numbers of if he was David the Gnome, basically, because you would have
Yeah.
to be 200 to have that.
Yeah. No word. And so, but what I think that was, and so I had setbacks with all of that, man, and where I had to give myself shots sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I got 4 steroid shots in my ankles. I got 2 on my knees.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take methotrexate, which is what cancer patients take. I've had to take prednisone,
Yeah.
that made me lose all my muscle, and it got crazy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm here, and my
Indeed.
brain, what it is, man, was that same defense mechanism that told me you need to just make it work
Mm-hmm.
is what saved me,
Okay.
right? And so God has just aligned all these different things for me, man. And I went and I was working in sales.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I wanted to be a pharmaceutical sales rep because my boy Andre Kelsey, which is still my brother to this day,
Dre,
was
shout out
was
to
making.
Dre.
Well, yeah, he was making money, and I'm like, I need to make that money.
Yep.
Okay, so I got to the third round of interviews with no experience. Right,
Yeah.
didn't get the job,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I ain't never not got no job. And even
Right.
Dre, even the guy that was above Dre that gave me the reference was like, I don't understand what happened.
Yeah.
And that's because I was only doing it for the money,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So I went back. I hated my job. It moved me to Atlanta. In Atlanta, I had just started grad school. I was working full time, going to school full time.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Atlanta halfway through. I thought because I told God I don't want to be in Texas no more. Moved
Mm-hmm.
me to Atlanta. My job moved me to Atlanta. I opened up a branch of the sales out there.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little older, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So I wasn't into the party scene. I was a little more ignorant, right? And so you hear stories about Atlanta. It's like, oh man, it's undercover brothers out there. So I was
Yeah.
on some
Yep.
I was on some I was on some stuff like, all right, boys got 3 question max. For real. Like, where you from? One. You know what I'm saying? What size you well, I'm at the shoe store, what size you want?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's two. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I was silly like that at the time. And so I just stayed in the crib, bro. I didn't really do anything out there, but I
Yeah.
finished school.
Mm-hmm.
All right, which is another great story. This is how God has been saving my life, which is why I feel like I have to fulfill my purpose,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So I come back. I'm out in Atlanta, and I can't find. I need an internship to graduate, and I can't find one to save my life.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 4 or 5 different sports. It was sports management, but it was a young industry at the time. But they had like 4 spots out there in Atlanta, and I couldn't get into any. I couldn't even get an email back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, God, what am I going to do? I got to graduate. I done wasted all this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just randomly shoot out a Facebook to that same Jolene Slimer, man, and see at this time the NBA has started to buy the D League teams.
Oh,
And
right.
so the Austin Toros are now the Austin Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Well, they hadn't changed to the Spurs yet. There was the Toros, but they was under Spurs Sports Agency.
Okay.
Called the lady. I need an internship. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need this to graduate. Good. We just got an opening because we just got bought by the Spurs. Come interview. We'll see what happens. Boom. Move back. What am I gonna do? It just so happens my boy Rico Smith. Shout out Rico.
Shout out to Rico.
Okay. I said, Rico, you got this 4-bedroom house, bro, out in Maynard. You don't need this 4-bedroom house. Charge me whatever you want, man. I just need a room. Man, I was 26 years old making. It's 2009 now. I was 26 years old making $7.25 an
What you
hour
say?
on 20 hours a week. Dog, I took out my 401k at the time, man,
Mm-hmm.
and Mr. Marvin, which is Jarrell's dad, which is like my dad.
Yep. Mentor to me.
I was talking to him through this whole time, and I was like, man, I'm not even gonna be able to go to my graduation.
Mm-hmm.
From at grad school. He was like, well, what's going on? I said, Miss Marvin, I got $13.72 to my name right now with a master's degree.
Right.
So he like, nah, we can't have that. Man, do you know this man gave me his credit card number and said, get what you need. And I bought a plane ticket, a hotel, a plane ticket, a hotel, a rental car, and he sent me money. And I flew up there and I walked across that stage, man, with Bill Clinton giving the address speech
Man.
because scot free. So then I come back, right? I come back and I got to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm working for the Spurs, again, I'm thinking I'm going to be in sports management now. While I'm working for the Spurs, I'm talking to the radio guy.
Mm-hmm.
I put on like 1 or 2 marketing events, but I'm kind of over the younger interns at this point. I'm talking to one of the radio guys. He was like, what do you want to do? I told him I was in school. He's like, all right, did you know that the Longhorns have like a sports marketing segment? I said, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, it's with IMG. IMG is one of the biggest. It was 2 college things at the time, IMG, and I forgot the other one, but they ended up acquiring the other one. IMG did. So I go, and he's like, email this guy, tell him you know me, and then we'll send him your resume.
Mm-hmm.
I sent my resume, man. I had an interview in a week. 1,000 people applied for this job.
Mm-hmm.
I never even applied.
Wow.
I got the internship there.
Mm-hmm.
But see, now I'm 28, making $10 an hour.
Okay.
Doing stuff like, those banners that you see when people run touchdowns?
Yep.
Putting that up.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm doing fresh, straight up grunt work,
Yeah.
but it's an internship, but
Yep.
it's a paid internship, so I can't complain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting to go on these fancy dinners,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, but I'm 28 and I'm making $10 an hour, and I'm like, what I'm gonna do? They didn't have any openings. I could have went to TCU.
Mm-hmm.
TCU don't have the affinity that UT has. I'm like, man, just so happened I seen a Facebook post from Nice Kicks to say we're looking for part-time writers, and they had a black and blue foam posit.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been to sneakers. Write about
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Well, I'm a writer, Jay.
Yes, sir.
I sent in my write up. They called me the next day. Called me the next day. That she said, Allison, shout to Allison. She's still on my Facebook friends list. She emailed me. I went in. I met one of my best friends there. I'm still good friends with all those guys. She said, you
Mm-hmm.
know what? We wanted people part time. We're gonna hire you full time. Gave me
Mm.
a salary. So
Wow.
I went from making $10 an hour to making $40,000
Boom. Just like that.
in a month. So now I'm like, okay,
Right.
we rolling.
Yep.
I did that for like a year, man. I really love to write. It sharpened my writing skills.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to train more, and I got up to about 20 clients, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, if I'm gonna really go after this, I turned 30. The job was becoming just a job. I didn't see a career in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, I was there to meet one of my good friends, George, who's like a brother to me now,
Mm-hmm.
who we do a lot of stuff together now. But I said, so if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go now. And I had already had two um, certifications, teaching certifications.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to apply in Austin, wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I said, well, what do I need to do? And the church I had gone to, there was a coach there. I was like, I don't have an opening for you, but you got to get certified in a core subject.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, shoot, I can't do math. Like, I can do math, but I can't do math how y'all want me to do math.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where I can teach it. But I can teach English because I can write and I can speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the English one, man. I passed on the first time. I sent out my resume. Before I actually got my scores back, I had 5 emails back in a week.
Wow.
I had 3 interviews lined up in Houston. I drove down here with a suit on, nowhere to stay. I
Mm-hmm.
just knew I was going to drive. I went to some school called Katy Cinco Ranch that I had never heard of in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I went there. I was in a room full of white folks,
Mm-hmm.
which I think I was part of the diversity program because my name is Tyrone, bro. Yeah, I mean,
Brother. Yeah.
Tyrone and Darius is probably the blackest names
Yep.
without an apostrophe, right?
Right.
So
Right.
my name is Tyrone. They brought me in. They were impressed. They were like, all right, we can turn him into a good teacher. Don't worry about it. But we need him to coach basketball. The coach came in there. He knew he had majority brothers on his basketball team for this particular year.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me what to say, man. And I went in there. I don't really get nervous in those situations.
Yep.
They gave me the job, dog. And before I knew it, I was living in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Mind you, in 2010, I was making $7.25 an hour.
Yes, sir.
This is 2013, and I signed my contract for $52,000. And I didn't even realize this stuff was happening, right?
Right.
So I started teaching. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I could build relationships with kids.
There you go.
I was set up in there, and for the first 4 days, them white kids ain't say a word to me.
Yep.
Because they like, what is this Negro doing teaching us English, right?
Right. Yeah.
Man, so on Friday, I said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I still had all my sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
Said, I'm going to start wearing Jordans on Friday.
Okay.
So I threw on a pair of Concords,
Okay.
and they was like, oh! Kids think teachers just teach and go home.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
like
saying?
you have no concept of the world or culture or anything. Yep.
And read books. And then they started Googling me, and they found my YouTube videos on sneakers.
Yep.
And then it just became a thing, right?
Yep.
Then basketball season started, man, and it all kind of went fast. Circle back. One of my old teammates at A&M Corpus played at a high school called Clown Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I quit at Corpus, but him and I had built a good relationship. I built a good relationship with most of the guys. One of my best friends I met on that basketball team.
Relationships, y'all. Listen,
That's
relationships.
it. That's all any of this is, right? Think about the
Relationships.
people that I've met and the times I've tapped back into them,
Yep.
right? But there's 2 things to this, and I'm gonna tell you what it is. And I'm gonna make this quick. So anyway, he calls me because he's coaching at this junior college in Illinois. I sent him a guy that I was mentoring in Austin.
Okay.
Played for him in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He came and saw this guy at 24-hour fitness.
Mm-hmm.
This guy had some stuff in his life. His dad was in jail. He was a boxer. You know, he was a gang member that, you know, really wanted to do better for his life. So I sent him to Illinois to play for him. Mm-hmm. This guy circled back, called me, said, "Hey, coach called me for this job. I can't do it." I said, "I know a guy out there already. You." In my mind, I'm thinking my relationship with those guys is done because I'm just a quitter.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But he was the only one that said, "Bro, you should have stuck with it, man. You done made it through all this."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But he called me. I Googled that school and I said, "Not a chance.
Right.
There's not a chance I'm going to that school."
Mm-hmm.
But see, when God opened that doors for you, He's gonna make sure other ones shut. So I went on a trip. I went on a trip with my other coaching staff, and that was the most uncomfortable trip I've ever been on in my life. Mm-hmm. I said, "I gotta go." Called the coach back. "Hey, you still got an opening?" Yep. I went to Clown Forest. I was there year one. I had a JV team that went 27-1. They moved me out of English, thank goodness, into a different class where I taught electives.
Yep.
Taught electives. By year 3, we was number 1 in the state.
Yes.
1 game away from state.
I remember that.
In 4 years, I was a head coach. And I opened up a brand new school.
And you know what, man, I want to definitely, man, this story, y'all, we gotta. I think what we're gonna do is I know where we're gonna go, but I want to have you come back for sure to talk.
For sure.
Two kind of other chapter parts of the story, but man, I want you and Skeens to come on and do an episode just talking basketball, because
of course.
I grew up, Skeens in my life, he was supposed to be the one at one point in Arkansas. He was, and he also used to write for the paper in Arkansas. He has a degree in marketing and mass communication, so he has this way. And
wow.
He would talk basketball with me, and I would see you talking basketball. I have to get these two together to talk.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, I remember when you had the number 1 team. I remember that, man, because I was talking to Skeens about it. I was like, "Yo, this is my boy I was telling you about, man." And Skeens used to always tell me about Nice Kicks, and then you're writing for Nice Kicks. I'm like, this world is crazy. But as we always talk about, y'all, relationships. That's what it's all about, whether it's with your spouse or significant other. It's the people you work with. It's the people you see in the street, because you never know where that thing is going to come back up. And as TJ's story is just a testament to things, God making things fall in pleasant places, man. That's what it's a testament to. Yeah. And just making himself available, and even, you know, throwing his hat in the ring on certain things. Okay, hey, this is what I'm going to do.
Just doing it. So 2 things, man. 2 things that have saved me in my life. Again, the defense mechanism that I built, I still deal with that today. Okay. Like even the fact of being a head coach in 4 years, or having a program where you ordered everything from the mops to the uniforms, you know what I mean?
Right.
To, you know, publishing. I never think about it. I just do it. But
just do it.
Sometimes I get started on the idea because I have a propensity to think myself out of stuff.
Yep.
But the way God deals with me is, once I think about it, if I start doing it, I won't ever doubt it.
Okay. Yep.
And then so that's the lesson, right? If you're on the side of the road with a broke down car, and you have your thumb out, nobody's gonna stop for you. But if you get behind that car and start pushing it, people will start helping you.
Yeah, and one thing, and we'll talk about this too, probably next time. But
right,
Marvin Eugene Williams,
man, that's my man. I love that man. For real.
You guys, this is one of the most pivotal characters or men in my life that is not my dad or Bishop Holcomb. And I came to meet him later on in life, and I have never, guys, had somebody in the organization I worked for, somebody at his level of the organization, of the boss, come and pour into me so much.
Man.
And I mean, sometimes, you know, we both kind of short. We both slew foot. So people used to say, "Yeah, man, you like a Marvin little clone." You know what I'm saying? But it was just, anyway, we'll talk about that. But T,
it's just relationships.
It is, man. It is.
Because Mr. Marvin, what time? I'm gonna cut this short. Mr. Marvin I knew Mr. Marvin before Mr. Marvin and Miss Karen was married to each other. Like I was there.
Okay.
I was there the first time he came to visit her at their apartment. You
Whoa.
understand?
Okay.
I was there when Tiffany, which is their daughter, was
Yeah,
born.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's like my father, but he knew all our struggles, and
Yeah.
he never, ever, ever changed.
That's it. That's it, man. But
Yeah.
what I want to do now though, T, so this is how you got I want to touch just as far as on some professional things with you real quick is so you made your foray from into coaching, into teaching, and what capacity are you in right now?
I'm a dean. I'm a
Well,
dean
he's a
of
dean. Okay.
administration.
Okay.
Yeah, which is it's just you have your principal, and I'm right under the building principal, but I'm right above the assistant principals.
Okay. And so as he talking about just and this it helps me and I think it would help you guys too as far as I remember there's a pastor I think he's out of South Carolina, Stephen Furtick. And what he talks about sometimes God, you ask God to show you kind of his plan for your life. And sometimes it's so big that you like, oh, that can't be God. That's just me. But really, it is what God has, and we just have to get in and do it. Just do
Just
it.
do it. Just
And
do it.
and that's what TJ even he's an author now. You got two books
Yeah.
that are based off of your relationship with your son.
Hmm.
And I want you to kind of talk about that and what was your, how did you, I got this great relationship with my son. I want to put it as a book. What made you even make that trek?
Well, I always wanted to write books. I
Okay.
didn't know what I wanted to write about, right?
Hmm.
And God blessed me with a son,
Yes, sir.
um, and it just became kind of a muse for me.
Hmm.
And I think poetically anyway.
Yep.
And again, everything kind of ties together. When I was a kid, you wouldn't know this because you knew me, but people that didn't really know me, I couldn't really speak to them. And
Okay.
part of my, inability to handle my emotions, I couldn't really say what I wanted to say, so I would just write it down.
Okay.
And that's what kind of happened. And it just so happened, man, I had this idea of putting a book out. And again, once you start, God opens doors for you. But it's
Yeah,
just
man.
it's the Jaden Smith principle, right? On Pursuit of Happiness, when he tells the joke that is just a passing joke, but it's
Hmm.
real. When he say, the man that's drowning and he asks God save me, and he sends a helicopter and
Yep.
he sends a
Yep.
boat, and then he drowns. He says, "Well, God, why didn't you save me?" He said, "Well, I sent you a helicopter
Yeah,
and a boat. What you want
absolutely.
me to do?"
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what happened was, man, I started writing this book, and people always say, "Don't tell people your dreams because they can't crush them."
Yep.
But I was just randomly selected to go to this symposium in Harvard. Right?
What?
Again, I'm a Negro named Tyrone from Copper Cove, Texas, sitting in Harvard, bro. I didn't even know what I was doing there, right? But I'm there.
Yep.
Whatever. Right? So I'm there. Hold on, man. Again, I'm a real life father, so I'm running my son's bath right now.
Yes, sir.
And so the I'm sitting beside. I just happened to. There was one open seat by Professor Carmen Valoria, and I
Hmm.
sat down. And she's like, "Well, what do you do?" I'm like, "I do this, this, and this, but this is what I want to do." I started writing this book. She was like, "Man, I started writing this book too. I don't really know what I want to do with it yet." But
Hmm.
she was like, "But I know a lady who was my professor, who I used to work under, who now she has a publishing company.
Hmm.
Here's her email." I emailed her. Bro, that lady sent me all her stuff. No money. No, she don't even know who I am.
Hmm.
So I was able to publish this book. The first book, man, Bradley Knows Everything under Purple Owl Publishing without, I didn't have to pay a dime for it.
Wow.
And okay, so again, I'm working at this school, right? And the lady, my illustrator,
Hmm.
is the daughter of one of my coworkers.
Boom.
She
Relationships.
happens to she happens to be a but here's the thing about that, Jay. When you talk about relationships, but when you talk about pursuing something,
Hmm.
if you're going to put it in the atmosphere,
Yeah.
you better be serious about it
Right. Indeed.
because things will start moving, and if
Yep.
you ain't ready for it, it's
Yep.
gonna pass you by.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And so this next one, man, the Bradley visits the zoo.
Yes, sir.
I had it written. I write it in about 30 minutes, but I write it in about a month. If that makes sense. Like I write
Understood.
it to get my thoughts out, and then I'm like, let me synchronize it and make
Yeah,
it make sense.
organize
And
it. Yep.
so yeah, and just so happened, man, that again I had my blog that I was writing about fatherhood on as well.
Yep.
Um, and so this one is just about every book is just basic things we do anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and just life lessons from them. So the
Yeah.
first one is encouraging kids to ask questions, stay
Mm-hmm.
curious, and the key to knowing everything is understanding that there's so much more to know.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything you see, right? So here's the tree, look at the branch, look at the leaves. There's a whole system that goes into that tree.
Mm-hmm.
This one is just about diversity, embracing differences, and it just so happened, man. Like this was already written before all the stuff happened with George Floyd and everything.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It just kind of ties in together. But this one, man, I use the same illustrator who I'm always going to use
Yes, sir.
until she tells me that she don't want to do it no
Right.
more. Um, but I this one is just it just things just started moving. Right,
Mm-hmm.
I did this one under my own company, Void
I
Ventures.
saw
Was the
that.
first one that I did.
I
Yeah,
saw
I did this
that.
under my own
I peeped
with.
that, man. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Give you some applause on this side. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what I want to do to end this episode, man, and I think, man, I'm gonna just put out there now, man. Again, it's some other brothers I want to link you up, man, that I really admire, man. But I would love to have you on for a multitude of topics. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just put that
Let's
out
do it,
there to
man.
you. But
Y'all can just be one of those guys you just call on. How about
absolutely,
that?
you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do like Joe
Be like
Button when I let you know, hey,
yeah,
this is Jay Carter from the How Did We Get Here? So you know what
yeah.
time it is.
I just
But
be you can be Jimmy Kimmel. I'll be his security guard. I'll just be
absolutely,
the co-host. I
you
mean,
know what I mean?
not the co-host below that. We'll go ahead.
But let's talk about now. Also, guys, all this stuff we've talked about. This brother also has a podcast as well.
Yeah,
So, and it's
yeah.
called 1%.
2%.
2%, excuse me. So
Yeah.
let's talk. I wanted to talk about that, and this is something key as well. What does the 2% represent?
2% represents the percentage of black males that are teachers
Boom.
across America.
Now, see, y'all didn't know that. Now, let that sink in. Across the United States of America, TJ and your friend's name eludes me right now.
Talil Bradshaw.
Right? And think about the black male teachers, that's only 2%. 2%. Okay. So what inspired y'all to even, start that podcast?
Talil was my assistant, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we think alike. There are huge, and I'll keep it brief, but there are very, very gaping holes in education. And education has a habit of covering those holes with cloudy, fake positive language.
Mm-hmm.
And just like black people in any arena, people like to talk about us. People like to talk for us.
Yep.
They don't ever want to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so my personality says, either you're going to talk to me or you're going to hear me talk.
Okay.
One or the other.
Yeah.
And he's the same way because though the profession continues to be very low in its diversity,
Mm-hmm.
the actual attendees,
Okay.
right? The
Yep.
students
Go ahead.
at public schools,
Yes, sir.
that the number of I'm not even gonna call them minorities,
Nope.
just students that are non-white
Yes.
is what we'll say,
Yep.
is increasing.
Yep.
And there's so many things, man, that I won't get into that goes into schools being quote unquote bad schools.
Mm-hmm.
That goes all the way back to the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason what people have to realize is education was never meant for black folks.
Okay.
We weren't supposed to learn how to read and write to begin with.
Nah, it wasn't
And
created
so-
for us at all. At all.
So when you start from there,
Yep.
there's a long way to go. And so we just talk about those things from our perspective, man. But I'm also, this is kind of a debut,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm
Okay.
also breaking news, right? Breaking
News. Yeah.
But I'm also starting one that wraps around fatherhood, man. And
dope.
I'm really going to dig into the idea of because a lot of things that we're taught that manhood is about, it's just not.
At all.
It's just
At all, T.
There
At
ain't
all.
really no way to cut it. It's just not. And
At
then
all.
you get a kid and no one shows you your toxicity like your kid because they're
Pooh,
you,
pooh.
all facets of you.
T.
Not only
Trey,
not only are they born like you, but then they pick up the stuff that you do.
they do, and what Trey has given me is an exercise. And one of my thing, and it's funny you talk about it. One thing that Jay has to dial back is my ego, and Trey is always exercising me to eliminate my selfishness.
Man.
Because that dude does not care how hard I worked when I walked through that door. It's go time, baby. I've been waiting on you to get here.
What you gonna do for me? What can you do for me? Right. So so a lot of that has just come from two things that have started that, man. I won't get into it too deep, but we're gonna delve into it.
Yeah.
My first guest is going to be my son.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna interview him. We're gonna talk, man. You know, he's a lot like me, and it's weird to see.
Yeah.
But you know, we both drive his mom crazy.
Okay.
But it's gotten to the point, man. Again, like I think what really kind of fast forwarded this is that he used to cry, and he cries. You know, he'll be 3 tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he just cries, and instead of saying like, I mean, we were growing up, we're like, stop crying.
Yep.
Don't ask me why, because I said so.
Yep.
Like these just things that when you fast forward those things into the workplace, man, that's why black folks just go along to get along. Cause that's how we were taught.
Yep.
Now, but then I also want to shine a light on just regular dudes, man, like yourself.
Absolutely.
Like a bunch of guys I know that are just good fathers.
Yes, sir.
And that, you know, a lot of times they say, well, you don't need credit for doing, you know, what you're supposed to do. And it's
right. Yeah.
Nah, this is rough. Like being a father, specifically a black father, with black sons or mixed race sons. If your son is mixed race, he's black.
He's black.
So let's just go and get that out there.
I'll tell Trey is 7. I tell him, brother, they see you. I know your mama is half white, half Korean, and you got me, brother. You black.
You black. But even talking to men that have daughters.
Yes,
how
indeed.
do you do that? What's that dynamic? And so that we're gonna debut that next to 2021, man. We rolling it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
So I'm gonna have you on there so you can come to my world. We're gonna hopefully once Rona's over, we can sit and break bread in person. There's nothing like that in person, the first interaction.
That's the goal, is to be able to sit down. But I want to close it out there, y'all. And T, what I want to do, man, and just make it clear to the audience. So I think when we come back, I would love to talk some fatherhood stuff. I definitely want to talk how you and your wife got together. I have to know the story because y'all, TJ to me from afar was one of the pickiest men with women I have. You know, I don't know when this brother's gonna get married, but
I didn't even believe in it for a while. But we'll talk about that.
So I saw him with this beautiful woman. I remember Liz and I. And seeing that y'all were doing things together with the backpacks that year. I remember me and Liz kicked a little bread for that, man. And I'm just like, man, this chick, they on the same level too. I'm like, oh my God. So I want to talk that, and you know, we'll get into a few other things, but I want to touch base on those things, y'all. But brother, I want to appreciate you for coming on, man. We'll set up the time. And hopefully Skeens will be here as well, so y'all can kind of have an introduction of sorts. I've bragged on you, T, for so long. My wife knows who you are. I was showing Trey the book, and he's like, oh, this is your friend. He has another book? And I'm like, yeah. You know, and he's all like, okay. You know, so I just, again, man, just want to give you your chicken while you can eat it, brother. You know, I love you, man.
I appreciate that, man.
I love seeing what you're doing, man. And so we'll get up on the next episode. We'll set it up. But again, guys, it's been another episode of How Did We Get Here? I'm your boy, Jay Carter. And the man that has always heard and never seen, Skeens. We'll holler at y'all next time.